Well, I can agree with that, except it's changed for the worse. Our economy is tanking. We have, looking forward, the worst growth prospects for our economy of any industrialised country except Russia, which is being sanctioned. Our inflation is going through the roof with energy bills, with food prices. We have record NHS waiting lists, a crisis in our NHS. We've got our water companies pumping their sewage into our rivers. So I'm afraid Boris Johnson didn't mention all that, of course. I think that the devastation he's left in his wake is why he was unfit ever to be our Prime Minister.
It's interesting listening to the points of change that Boris Johnson spoke about in his speech, one of which is his new policy to back nuclear power, to try and have more homegrown energy, one reactor a year, as he said. I wonder to what extent the Liberal Democrats may be, to some extent, culpable for the mess of a lack of energy that we have now. Davey, I want you to listen to the words of one of your predecessors as leader of the Liberal Democrats, Nick Clegg, and what he had to say about nuclear power back in 2010.
The most optimistic scenarios from the government itself, there's no way they're going to have new nuclear come on stream until about 2021, 2022. So it's just not even an answer.
Nick Clegg then in 2010 saying we shouldn't invest in nuclear power because it wouldn't come on stream until 2021, 2022. Was that a mistake?
Well, Tom, you're looking at the person who was the first Energy Secretary in a generation to commission new nuclear power. And that nuclear power station that the Liberal Democrats commissioned under my watch as Energy Secretary is being built as we speak. It will open, we hope, at the back end of this decade. So not only did I ensure that there was clean local nuclear energy, but I expanded renewable energy dramatically. We nearly quadrupled renewable electricity, which is our own electricity. We have to import it. It's safe. It's really cheap now. You know, wind and solar power are the cheapest forms of electricity. And so if you want to cut people's electricity bills, Tom, we need to invest in more renewables.
I suppose everyone would agree that all sorts of energy generation is needed now, but I just wonder if your latter decision to back nuclear power is rather in contrast to your predecessors' opinions on it in 2010. What do you say specifically to Nick Clegg's words there around the 2010 general election that we shouldn't have new nuclear?
Well, I think rather than words, I mean, we listened to a lot of words from Boris Johnson, didn't we? He didn't deliver. I delivered. Liberal Democrats in office delivered, not just on the first nuclear power station for a generation, but as I say, the massive expansion of renewables. It's worth reflecting on this because Boris Johnson, the Conservatives, were saying wind power was bad. Boris Johnson wrote in the Daily Telegraph that a wind turbine couldn't take the skin off a rice pudding. He was so damning about wind power. But Liberal Democrats pushed, we fought and won, and we made Britain the world leader in offshore wind. And now offshore wind is dominating the future for the UK. It's really pushing down future electricity prices, which is great news for your viewers. And
yes, we don't have that much time left,
power.
so I
it's really,
just
really
want to
exciting.
ask one final question on that. And Boris Johnson did mention in his speech the 50% of electricity we may well be getting from offshore wind. But just finally, Ed Davey, we're expecting there may be a by-election in mid-Bedfordshire with the likely elevation of Nadine Dorries to the House of Lords. Will the Lib Dems chuck the kitchen sink at it?
Well, as you know, Tom, we've got a cracking record of winning by-elections from the Conservatives, overturning huge Conservative majorities. We did so in True Blue Buckinghamshire, we did in North Shropshire, taking a seat off the Conservatives, which they'd held for 200 years, and then earlier this summer we beat them in East Devon, winning a seat, overturning the largest ever majority overturned. So Liberal Democrats have a real recent and strong track record of beating the Conservatives, even in seats that have been Tory for a long time. And you know, I'm particularly proud of a guy called Mayor Dave Hodgson. He's the mayor of Bedford. He's been returned because he's such a good mayor for Bedford, and part of his mayoralty covers the mid Bed's constituency. So we have a real Liberal Democrat leader there, and I think it's going to be interesting.